And we are live. What's good, y'all? It's your man DL Saint. Welcome to Downrange Podcast, y'all. What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling out there? How are y'all feeling? Happy Tuesday. I hope all is well. I hope things are good on y'all end. Things are good over here. Found a new way to do the sound check, y'all. I'm getting better. I'm adapting and overcoming. Yeah, I didn't do a live yesterday. I did a couple shorts. I hope y'all saw that. I did a short talking about Andrew Tate's. You know, was Brother Tate too loud? And then I did a short on the lost art of conversation. Yeah, man. So I hope y'all checking those things out. I told you we're gonna be switching things up, trying different things, seeing what's going on with, all this good stuff to make the platform better. We're still going to do political stuff like Downrange, what we're doing now. Speaking of, let me put the banner up. We're going to continue to do the Downrange stuff. And there it is. We got that banner up. And, Ty and I are still working on a review show. We're going to be like reviewing movies in Hollywood and stuff like that. We'll be doing that with Ty Barnett once a month. So, yeah, that next show should be coming up within the next 3 weeks or so. We got to work out the time. And shout out to Griot's Vision. We were down in Miami with the Fresh and Fit 1 million celebration, and Griot's got a whole bunch of footage right now. He's working on an intro and outro for this platform. Well, I really want to know. We'll probably run the same intro over here. I don't know. We'll get to a point where Downrange, I really want to know, and Two Guys, One Movie will have their own intros and outros. But we're going to baby step our way there, y'all. We getting there one step at a time. Things are looking up. Still figuring out the whole monetization thing. YouTube wants everything squeaky clean. So we just kind of doing that, seeing what it is. But yeah, you know what I mean? I'm glad y'all here, man. This is fun. We got another show tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk about child support, the misuse of child support funds. And, what should we be doing about that? So yeah, we're going to just keep making this thing grow and keep doing our thing, man. Like I said, I hope y'all doing good on this Tuesday. So yeah, man, let's get into it. I was talking to Jay Swans the other day, and he was telling me how the Republicans, have this idea of a federal tax in lieu of our current income tax system. So they want to do like a federal sales tax across the board, every good, every service, which I've had this idea, going back 6-7 years. I was talking to friends at work about it. And I guess it's called the Fair Tax Plan. So we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about this, y'all. I thought, like Jay Swans is always bringing the fire to me. I spoke about this to Suzette Speaks earlier today. Kind of planted a bug in her ear. And I was also on Hink in the Basement. Yo, Hink in the Basement on YouTube, man. Type that in. I'm going to see if I can put his link in the chat. Hink in the Basement. His brother out of Kentucky. Real cool brother. I was on his platform last night. We were talking sports, but the conversation kind of went everywhere. It was a really good time. Shout out to you, brother, for having me on. And we touched on this very, very briefly. We talked about this proposed change that the Republicans are pulling up. I think it's worth talking about, y'all. And that is what we're going to do. We got Sister Candace in the house. What's good, love? Good afternoon, Brother D on the chat. Good afternoon to you. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons on your way in. Appreciate that. Yes, please do. Please do. Cody is Kings in the house. What's good, brother Cody? Good to see you, man. It's like, hello, Don and Candace. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Good afternoon. Where's Brother Jay Swan's been busy? He's been busy. He's been real busy. So, like, his schedule just kind of blew up. Like, he has his hands in all sorts of things these days. So you'll see him again on the platform. What we're trying to do now is just kind of carve out some time in his schedule, and we'll sit down and actually pre-record stuff and then upload it. Because his schedule, his schedule is really tough. He's got some things going on. He's thinking about doing some big things. I'm trying to encourage him to do so. Brother Doug's in the house. What's good, fam? How you feeling? So yeah, sis, that's what's going on with Jay Swans. He's just been busy, and as the year goes on, my calendar's going to fill up as well. We have some things we want to do. We got a lot of things we want to tackle in 2023, and we're going to make it happen. You know what I mean? Last thing you want is a paratrooper and a ranger decide to get something done. You know that's getting done. Ain't no question about it. It's going to happen. But just real quick, guys, in the chat or just out there listening, what are your thoughts just in general on removing the current tax codes, doing away with the IRS as we know it now? No more tax preparation, no more tax man, no more tax loopholes. Scrap that system completely and replace it with a federal sales tax on every good and service. What do you guys think about that? Just like without doing any research, just popping that idea into your head. Would that be a good thing? Would it be worse than the current system? Is it worth trying? I wonder I'm just curious. What other questions do you have? I know I got a couple questions as to what this would look like. There are articles out there. The Atlantic posted something, I think, yesterday. We're gonna get into a CNN article here in a second. Wall Street Journal has an article out there. It's and this isn't a brand new idea. This has been floating around DC since the 90s. And everyone hates the IRS. Let's just keep it 100. And my biggest problem with the way things work now is the loopholes. The more money you make, the more people you can hire, the more loopholes you can find. And that tax code is so convoluted. No one truly understands it. If you don't have the resources to hire the best, you're going to get pounded by the tax people because they don't even understand the tax codes, but they'll get their marching orders and they'll just present it to you. And you're trying to claw money back and the government's trying to hold on to your money. And we know the 1% and those people close to the 1%, they're not paying top 10, top 15%. They're not paying the same taxes that everyone else is, the bottom 85 or whatever, bottom 99. So I would like to see something that would, kind of right the ship a little bit. Nothing's going to be perfect. Let me start that right now. Me and Jay Swans have been going back and forth on this topic. Nothing's going to be perfect. He leans more towards a flat tax. I don't like that idea of a flat tax. I don't like that idea at all. I like this idea. Whatever you spend your money on, you pay taxes on. If you don't spend any money on nothing, then I guess you don't need to be paying no taxes. You know what I mean? So, but again, we'll see what this looks like. And Brother Doug, I don't see the Federal Reserve's going for it. I mean, if it's the law of the land, it's the law of the land. They won't have a choice. You know what I mean? I think it boils down to what the high end people, what the high rollers want to do, what the top 10%, 1% wants to do, and what they order their lobbyists to do. You know what I mean? And this is something we're gonna get into the article. People aren't taking it serious, but I think a seed is being planted. I think that something like this could take on a life of its own. Like I said, man, I like it. I like it. So let's get into it. This is an article from CNN that I found. And this was Monday, January 23rd. Right. So this article came out yesterday. House GOP keeps up attacks on IRS with bill to abolish the agencies. So you have, you got you got factions still, especially on the Republican side, that just want to do away with the IRS. And that's where this is coming from. At least that's how the headline reads. So let's get into it. The Republican-controlled House has made the Internal Revenue Service a political target after Democrats bolstered the agency with new funding last year. Within the first week of the new Congress, a dozen GOP lawmakers introduced a bill that would abolish the IRS altogether and replace the entire federal tax code with a national sales tax. Okay, again, I like this idea. I'm just going to keep it 100. I like the idea. Separately, the House voted to rescind nearly $80 billion in funding for the agency that Democrats approved last year, with many top Republicans repeating the misleading claim that the money will be used to hire 87,000 auditors. Right. They're going to hire 87,000 employees. They're not all auditors. And a lot of this money is really going to replace retirements and stuff like that. Because, keep in mind, this is a government job. People are in there. And I'm not sure what their retirement age is. But like in air traffic, our retirement age is young. But whatever what the retirement age is in the IRS, people are getting there and they're going. Like it used to be, people would get to the point where they could retire and they'll just keep on working. But now people are like, nah. In fact, they're trying to find ways to retire early. So people are quitting, people are retiring, and the IRS needs to replenish their ranks. We know that the Republicans, and I ain't mad at them for this, Republicans aren't happy with the IRS. They don't like the IRS. So anything they could do, right, to hurt that agency, they're going to do. So I can understand them, saying that all this money is going to hire auditors so they can come and, harass you, Mr. John J. American. They're going to come and take your tax money. Meanwhile, the wealthiest of the wealthy still aren't paying taxes. But that's not where the majority of that money is going. They're just trying to replenish their ranks. Instead of adding 87,000 new agents to weaponize the IRS against small business owners in middle America, this bill will eliminate the need for the department entirely by simplifying the tax code with provisions that work for the American people and encourage growth and innovation, said Republican Earl Buddy Carter, a Republican from Georgia who introduced the Fair Tax Act earlier this month. It's highly unlikely that either bill will become law, given that Democrats still control the Senate. But the measures highlight how America's two major political parties have very different strategies when it comes to addressing the embattled tax collection agency, which has seen its budget shrink by more than 15% over the past decade and has struggled to not only process returns on time, but also answer taxpayers' questions. Just 13% of phone calls were answered last year. Facts. I've been trying to get a hold of someone at the IRS for a long time. When I retired, I didn't get my final W-2 from the year I retired, and trying to get help or trying to figure this out has been really, really daunting. You cannot get someone. If you call the IRS right now, you'll probably be on the phone for 3 hours just trying to get a voice. And I remember once I sat on the phone for an hour and a half, and then the thing just hung up. It just hung up. It's just like all that time I spent on the phone, it just hung up. So again, this is what certain, not just Republicans, there are Democrats out there too that can't stand the IRS, and that, people love to watch that agency suffer. We do need to simplify our tax code. 1,000%. We do need to simplify the tax code. I'm just catch up with the chat real quick. Sister Candace, I really need to hear some research on this topic before making a comment. I would like to see some reform on the state and local levels regarding taxes and why some states do not have taxes. I mean, that's, that part is up to the states. That part is what it is. Like, come on, Sister Candace, we know you smart girl. Just do me a favor one time and comment uninformed, just off the top of your head. Do you think this would be a good thing or a bad thing, or it doesn't matter? You know what I mean? As we continue to read this article, because we're gonna delve into the Wall Street Journal article a little bit. There's a couple pieces in the Wall Street Journal article that might clarify some stuff for us if the CNN piece doesn't, because I haven't read all the way through the CNN piece. And then I found another platform, another website that talks about the pros and cons of this particular plan. But come on, sis, this I know that makes you uncomfortable, but sometimes you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Shout out to Myron Gaines. Just off the top of your head, girl, because you're smart. I really want to know what's in your mind right now when it comes to this. Brother Cody, I agree, Dio. I have been hearing about a general sales tax to take over for a while. Yeah, this has been out there for a minute. I think the most popular one was the flat tax. I mean, I've been hearing flat tax for a couple decades now. But this federal sales tax, I haven't really been hearing this too much. Other than just kind of talking to people I knew from work. I'm like, why don't we just do that? And the reason I like the idea of a federal sales tax in lieu of the current system we have is just growing up in the hood, right? There's billions of dollars in the hood now. When I was growing up, it was millions, but now it's billions of dollars in the hood right now. just dark money, illegal money that they can't even wash it. Is so much money, right? So the people who have access to these funds spend it. They buy everything under the sun, man, from clothes to concert tickets to homes to businesses to car. They buy everything. So if there's a federal sales tax, these dudes don't pay taxes. Why would they? The money's dirty. Why would they? They buy it in other people's names. They do all this kind of stuff. They lose so much money trying to clean their money, paying folks, paying dirty bankers and stuff like that. Why not capture that money? Right? A true drug dealer, I mean, these guys on the street levels, the plugs and below, they're never going to report that income. Same thing with women, like sex traffickers or sex workers, I should say. Like, strippers, the people doing the quasi, illegal stuff. They're not paying taxes. They're not reporting those funds, and it's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. I mean, I knew women when I was living in Miami back in the 2000s, back in 2009, 10-ish. There were women working at some of the more popular strip clubs back there that were making $10,000 a week, bro. You think they were reporting that money? Absolutely not. $10,000 a week. They were working maybe 3 or 4 days. And they could have made twice that. You know what I mean? They just made their 10 and sat down. So again, they will go out and consume. So I like the idea of, a federal sales tax on every good and service. It would take a lot of work to kind of figure it out, but I think it would be a good start. But just between those two factions I mentioned, the people who are in the country illegally, they buy goods and services, they work, and that money moves around. So I would like to see that. And I mean, maybe some variants on it, and we'll talk about it. Make some all right, let's take a car, for instance. Like if we have to figure out what the average vehicle costs in America. Let's say it's $60,000. We're just making up numbers here. I don't know what it is. I think the average car is about 45, somewhere between 40 and 60 grand. So let's say the average vehicle was $60,000. Okay, so if you buy a car $60,000 and under, that you would pay maybe 5% tax on that. That would be your federal sales tax on that. We have 5%. And then if you buy a car $10,000 or less, it would be 2.5%. But if you go out and buy a Bugatti, it would be 55%. You go out and buy $1 million car, you're gonna pay a 50% federal tax on that. So that's not going to stop the people who want to buy a Bugatti. That's not going to stop the people who want to buy the McMansion, like the big $100 million house or whatever. 40, 50%, they don't care. They got the bread. It's not going to stop a guy from buying a boat, a big yacht. So, but you can still capture that money. And then when tourists come to America, tourism and all that, when people come to America, they're buying stuff, they're consuming things, they're paying American taxes. I like the idea of a sales tax. That's my thing. Maybe I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I like the idea. Dino Dinosaurs in the house. What's good, fam? The IRS loses 8,000 workers every day. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. The IRS is man, and I ain't mad. I'm glad that they're behind on their job. I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what I mean? Brother Cody or Sister Candace, ever heard of Catherine Austin Fitz? Don't know who that is, but I'm glad he didn't ask me because I don't know her. Brother Doug, the wealthy pay taxes. They actually pay more taxes. They have loopholes that save them from paying too much taxes. Big misconception. Yes, but here's the thing, bro. They're still not paying like the amount, the percentage that they pay, like the amount of taxes that they pay isn't comparable to the amount of taxes you and I pay. The impact isn't the same. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that rich folks don't pay taxes, but these corporations, there are a lot of corporations that don't pay taxes. In fact, they get money back. All that goes away. You know what I mean? I would love to see all that go away. And then whatever you need to buy to keep your company going, whatever you need to pay your whatever, those taxes, that money, that tax, that federal tax, sales tax or whatever will be locked onto that. So when you go out to buy what you need to make widgets, you paying your taxes. Go out and make as many widgets as you want. You know what I mean? But you paying taxes. No more loopholes. No more, I'm going to buy a couple boats and I can write these off. No more buying a G-Wagon so you can write that off. Nah, no more of that. You want the G-Wagon, go pay it. You're going to pay another 45% on top of that because it's a G-Wagon. You know what I mean? Because that thing's like $100,000 or whatever. So, again, it's not perfect. You look at like Trump. They went after Trump's taxes and finally got to peep at his taxes. And yeah, someone like Donald Trump is paying $700 in taxes or whatever, or no money at all in some cases, in some years, because you get to itemize and you got all these different loopholes and write-offs and this and that. That's all I'm saying. Warren Buffett says it all the time. He was like, his effective tax rate is lower than his secretary. So that's coming from the dudes at the top. You know what I mean? That kind of math is above me, but we do understand that there are tax breaks for those who make more. And there's no more tax breaks, right? When you go out, and you stay at your favorite hotel, you're going to pay that federal sales tax. So you can stay at the Holiday Inn and it'd be cheaper. You know what I mean? If you really worried about it like that, but people with money ain't worried about it like that. So I guess that's my take on that. And Cody is king. What a percent? Hell no, 5%. Take it or leave it. Yeah, this percentage is pretty high. When we get into this article, you're gonna see that the percentage that they're using, they're quoting, is pretty high. I think it's way too high. But again, I don't know anything about. I don't know the numbers like that. But we're gonna get into a couple articles just kind of try to break it down for us. Brother Cody, some pay none, just write it all off while giving it to themselves. LOL. Absolutely. And I ain't mad at it. That's how the game works, bro. Y'all know me, man. I never hate the players, bro. If you're gonna hate anything, hate the game. I never hate the players, but when people say that the wealthy don't pay taxes, yeah, they pay taxes. They definitely pay taxes. You know what I mean? But they're not paying at the same effective tax rate as everyone else. You know what I mean? Because of those loopholes, and I get it. Brother Dinosaur, the United States is losing $1 trillion in unpaid taxes every year, with the IRS chief arguing that the agency lacks the resources to catch tax cheats. Facts, it does. They're overworked. No one likes it. No one. People who work for the IRS don't tell you in real life, I work for the IRS, because they're hated. Right? They've been underfunded and they can't really, they can't accomplish their mission. And I ain't gonna lie to you. You know what? I'm glad they can't accomplish their mission. It's BS. I think more Americans, if the system were considered fair, if the system was better understood, less convoluted, I think more Americans would be like, all right, maybe we should fund the IRS. But the way it stands now, you see that people are like, man, forget the IRS, bro. Ain't nobody trying to do that. Rich don't pay taxes because their businesses pay the taxes, right? And businesses are considered legal persons now, right? Especially when you look at politics, they can, dump unlimited amounts of money, So if a business is a legal person, take away all the tax benefits or whatever, all the loopholes, and that legal person has to pay the same tax rate that we do. In other words, that whatever that percentage is on all the goods and services, that legal entity, that corporation has to pay it too. Again, I like the idea. You know what I mean? The current system we have is just, it doesn't benefit me. If I were in 1%, I probably wouldn't be doing this episode. Let's keep it 100. If I'm in the 1%, I'm making the money, I'm probably not going to complain about it. Definitely not going to be loud. Y'all know I was talking about being too loud on that short. I'll be quiet as a mouse. You know what I mean? It's like, boy, we are keeping money, but I'm not in the 1%. So I think we should change this. You know what I mean? And Sister Candace, I'm listening. I still can't muster up a response. Keep working on it, sis. Keep working on it. Brother Doug, why 40,000 of the richest people of New York pay 90% of the state taxes? Okay, and I'm feeling you, but here's the thing. Without the tax loopholes and all that, would they be paying 150% of all of New York taxes? You see what I'm saying? Is money still being lost, bro? My thing is, I think we can agree that the majority of Americans are not happy with the current tax system. Right? And we can also agree that people aren't truly being taxed, proportionately to others. So how about we try a system, like especially a system like this, like, bro, if you're in the 1% and you know what I mean, it's like everything is based on consumption, everything's based on a federal sales tax, just don't buy nothing. But we know that's not realistic. You got to buy stuff. You got to buy stuff. You know what I mean? See, brother, I think people who are not rich really don't know what they pay because they're not in those people's shoes. Yeah, but the people who are in those shoes, again, talking about Warren Buffett, he says it all the time. My secretary pays a higher effective tax rate than he does. Right? That's Buffett. That's Buffett. You know what I mean? And again, we can see it. Like, it is what it is. I mean, most Americans can itemize, but you need someone who knows what they're doing, because if you do it wrong, the penalties are stiff. So most Americans shy away from it, whereas the people with resources, they're going to hire the best, and they're going to run every loophole. Like the G-Wagon. Like you buy that SUV, you buy that $100,000 car, you get to write off 100%. If I'm not mistaken, I believe you get to write off 100% of the cost of that vehicle because of the weight. There's something about the weight of that vehicle which allows you to write off that money over 10 years, or you could do it all in 1 year. So if your people telling you owe $105,000 in taxes this tax season, you can just run out and go buy that vehicle for $100,000, and now you only owe $5,000 in taxes for that tax year. Bam, loophole. Well, who can afford to buy a truck that's worth more than their house? Because the people at the bottom, they can't get the weight. They can't write that off. They can't get that vehicle. So I'm just saying that's just one example. And again, I'm nowhere near an expert or anything like that. I'm pretty sure y'all are more well versed on this than I am. Y'all know how it is though, man. I just like to put stuff through the old think tank, man. That's what I like to do.
Think tank, Arch. Nothing gets past the old think tank. Nothing.
And the think tank tells me that the top 1% is getting over. And the bottom 1% is getting over. The bottom 99, the very bottom of the bottom 99, they're getting over because they don't have any money. Who's getting crushed? The people in the middle. You know what I mean? So let's take a little bit of pressure off the people in the middle, man. Let's spread the pain out a little bit more. You're never really going to get all the money out the top 1%. Even if you bring in new rules, they're going to figure out ways around it, right? They're going to be able to still lessen it, but I think it captures more tax money than we're currently. I mean, when you have tourists, and just between the tourists and the dark money out there, we'll call it dark money, that unreported money, just between those two things, it would seem to me that we would get more revenue, more tax revenue this way. I mean, again, I could be wrong. Nightish is in the house. What's good? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for coming out. So let's get back to the article. So it says that Democrats have taken a different approach, making funding for the IRS a priority. The Inflation Reduction Act, which passed along party lines last year, approved $80 billion for the IRS over 10 years. By using the money to crack down on tax cheats, it's estimated that the agency would boost federal revenue by more than $124 billion over that time period. And I'll take that at face value. How much money how much more money could we possibly get if we switch over to this system to where we're taxing every dollar that is spent? If we capturing some of that money, if we, every dollar is spent out there because there's a federal sales tax attached to that, as opposed to this current system. So let's get into it. How would the Fair Tax Act work? The Republicans' Fair Tax Act is not a new idea. A version was first introduced in Congress back in 1999. It's never had enough support to become law, but it puts forth an appealing message to those Americans who love to hate the federal tax agency. My question is this: how come this thing is not getting any traction? Who wants to keep it away from the American people, and why? You know what I mean? I'm looking at this like, I don't know. This thing might work. But they don't want it to see the light of day. Who doesn't want it to see light of day, and why? It will get rid of some complicated federal tax system. It would get rid of the complicated federal tax system, doing away with the annual task of filing tax returns. Instead, the bill would replace federal taxes on individual and corporate income with the national 23% sales tax in 2025, allowing for adjustments to the rate in later years. Americans would pay Uncle Sam whenever they bought a new good or service for personal consumption. This 25% or 23%, I think I said 25, but it's 23, seems really high to me. I mean, if you're taxing every good, every service in America, 23% sounds high. You would think you can do it with 10%. You would think. But all right, 23%. The bill calls for abolishing the IRS and directing states to collect the new federal tax. Okay. So you're putting that burden on the states. So they're going to need more money to actually collect this stuff. While every consumer would pay the same tax at the cash register, the bill provides for a monthly tax rebate payment based on poverty rates and family size. It's meant to help offset the tax levy on low-income Americans who tend to spend a higher share of their paycheck on goods and services. So, okay, this thing already So it builds in these factors for low income families and people who are living below the poverty line. How simple is a national sales tax? The national sales tax appears to be very simple. One rate all Americans pay on new goods and services they buy. This part right here, they pay on new goods and services. I would say what I'm thinking is all goods and services, everything you spend money on, this tax will be on there. I would have it taxed at 10%. And not just Americans would pay that, but people who visit the country, people in the country illegally, and then, those people who are in cash businesses, be it legal or illegal, that unreported money would also get captured in there. So I think that's some big money. And I think that the rates, again, I think there should be that caveat in there. If you go out and you buy yourself a really big house, like if you're going out buying some really high ticket items, that percentage should be higher, should be up to 45%. Like you're going to go out and buy yourself a McMansion or a Bugatti, you should be paying like an extra 45% tax on top of that. But some policy experts say Fair Tax Act is more complicated than it looks. I'm sure it is. Nothing is as simple as it seems, right? Moving away from taxing income and towards taxing consumption is a step in the right direction for pro-growth and a simpler tax code, said Garrett Wilson, a senior policy analyst for the Tax Foundation, an independent tax policy nonprofit. But there still could be some complications. First, the tax rate would likely have to be higher than 23%. I don't understand that part, but they're saying it should be higher than 23% in order for the federal government to pull in the same amount of tax revenue that it does now. One estimate found that the tax rate of about 30% would more likely be able to generate the same amount of revenue, or 44% if measured the way state sale taxes are typically presented. All right, those numbers are really big. You know what I mean? Those numbers are really big. Don't worry, y'all. There's another article that weighs the pros and cons, and they really delve into the numbers a little bit better. So hang in there, y'all. We're not just gonna, we're not gonna just leave us hanging with this article. Second, a nationwide sales tax could leave low and middle income people worse off. The current tax system is progressive, meaning it takes a larger percentage of income from high earners than low earner groups. Even with the monthly tax rebate, the national sales tax will still be less progressive. Okay, that kind of makes sense, but again, it sounds like if that's the case, it's definitely going to benefit the top more than it benefits the bottom. Let's see. A 2011 independent analysis of a similar national sales tax found that on average, most income groups would pay more tax than they did under the federal tax system at the time, except the top 5% of earners who would see a tax cut. Additionally, it's hard to imagine that lawmakers would pass a bill that does not include some things for the sales tax, like healthcare costs, for example. And then maybe that'll push a move to a single payer system in healthcare, maybe, or who knows? That might affect the healthcare system. Let's see. The basic income tax is simple too, said Howard Glickman, a senior fellow at the Urban Bookings Tax Policy Center. That's the deductions, credits, and exclusions, like for retirement savings, charitable giving, that makes it complicated. Plus, Americans will likely have to file some paperwork to do some tax collection entirely in. They'll have to file some paperwork to some tax collection entity in order to receive the rebate. Glickman said the administrative cost may be less than it is now, but it wouldn't be zero. And I mean, that makes sense. Switching the system, there's going to be a lot going on with figuring it out and switching the systems up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It makes you, it's one of those things that make you say, Brother Doug, taxes is business owner thing, which the average person can get an LLC and write off tax deductions. It's about knowing the system and how it works. I feel you, but again, a lot of people try that and they wind up hurting themselves because they don't do it properly. You know what I mean? Again, you can do it on your own. You can try to do it on your own, but when you have money, it works just to pay. You pay the people, you pay the best, and they maximize it for you. You do it by yourself. You make some mistakes. You follow some wrong advice or whatever. You can find yourself in some hot water. The cost of goods is going up. Yeah. cost of goods is going up. But I mean, we're going to get into this some more. But what would this do to the GDP? What would this do to American businesses? Like, would this encourage people to stay in America and not go overseas? Again, are you taking away all these tax incentives to leave America? So there's a lot of stuff to kind of, weave in there. Sister Candace, gosh, I can see small businesses shutting down over a 23% tax rate. Maybe, I feel you. You know what I mean? We got Brother Duster on the house. What's good, fam? Scam likely. Let's see. Sister Candace, or businesses in the niche market. That could happen. But again, like I said, most Americans, a large portion of America hates the current tax system. And it's not something you can try for a couple of years and then go back. Like, once this is a serious decision, but I don't know. I just think it's a good idea to do something like this, and I'm really happy to see that it's out there. We'll see if it catches on or not. IRS starts 2023 filing season with a backlog. Tax filing season opens Monday. The National Taxpayer Advocate Aaron Collins expects IRS services for taxpayers to improve this year, in part due to funding increases provided by Congress. Right, so that money, that $80 billion, I think it was, over 10 years, they're starting to see the fruits of that investment. Since the Inflation Reduction Act was passed in August, the IRS has hired 5,000 new customer service agents. The agency has also worked to improve its technology so the taxpayers can ask questions via an automated service online, said Treasury Deputy Secretary Wally Adeyemo, pretty sure I pronounced that wrong, on a call with reporters last week. The IRS started the year with about 400,000 unprocessed paper individual returns and about 1 million unprocessed business returns. But it's in much better shape than the prior year, when it had a backlog of 4.7 million unprocessed individual returns and 3.2 million unprocessed business returns, according to the Taxpayer Advocate annual report to Congress. So it looks like they're going in the right direction. Taxpayer service, like answering the phones and processing returns in a timely manner, has suffered as the IRS budget has shrunk. The pandemic brought even more challenges for the IRS. It was tasked with administering several rounds of stimulus payments to millions of Americans, with a lot of its staff working from home. This caused a long delay for many taxpayers who filed a paper return. The IRS is starting to implement a scanning system so that returns filed by paper can quickly be made digital. Let's see. Previously, paper returns had to be entered manually into the agency's computer system. So, yeah, it sounds like they're going to, use technology to kind of upgrade their systems and stuff like that. Which they should. So, yeah, like, I don't know, man. Like I say, I like the idea, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Brother Doug, I can see that happening. That's it. Talking to Sister Candace, like people shutting down. I mean, again, we're gonna get just another article when we just gonna talk about the pros and cons of the fair tax plan. We're gonna get into that in a second. Yeah, she was like, I have to start my own garden with these tax hikes. Yikes. And it's the sticker shock, like the number shock is what I remember when this was out. They were talking about this in the 90s, and people were like, whoa, 35, 40% tax. Wait a minute. And the way the Democrats would present it, it was like, it's going to be this tax on top of what you're already paying. And America was like, fingers in the air, la, 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 I don't want to hear no more. No way I'm going to back this. So, but when you really delve into it, you're scrapping one system and replacing it with another. And I don't know, this might make more money. They might be able to capture more money. So, and Brother Cody, 30 isn't fair. You're right about that. I mean, it is up there. Federal tax, state tax, property tax, all within 23%, or is it 23% plus state and property taxes? It would be 23% plus, depending on the state and property taxes. So all they're talking about doing is they will do away with all the federal taxes. So the states are still doing their own thing. And according to the CNN article, the states would have to absorb the cost of getting these taxes. The states are going to be responsible for collecting the federal sales tax in their state. So that's definitely going to force them to raise some sort of maybe property tax or something like that. So, the numbers are high. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like the concept, but I don't know how we would implement it. And again, it's another article we're going to get into to talk about this. Sister Candace said, Brother Doug, we need to make that distinction. The housing market, car markets, airline industries might suffer extreme losses as a result of people not being able to afford those expenditures. True. But I think those markets would also, I mean, their labor costs and, like fuel is static. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe you're right. You're right. It could be bad like that. You're right. You're absolutely right, Brother Doug. DL keywords in that comment, knowing the system. Right, you're right. And that's going back to where Brother Doug was saying. Like, if you know the system, you can go out there and do well on your own, filing taxes. But it is very convoluted, and I get it. Most Americans are very scared to do it. They're scared to try. Like, we'll see. So let's delve into this. There's two more articles I wanted to bring up. There's a Wall Street Journal article that I was looking at just real quick. We're not going to read the whole article, but it got into how this even came about. And this all came about with the lack of leadership on the deals that McCarthy made to get some sort of, to win the speakership, to be Speaker of the House. So let me see, so we're talking about this already, like the plan, the fair tax. Let me see. The plan is called the fair tax, and its premise is simple: replace every existing federal sales tax with a new national tax on sales. And it's the same thing as the previous article. It said the most recent version introduced by Georgia Representative Buddy Carter will slap a 23. So this is a 23% tax on gross payments. The rate includes the sticker. That rate includes the sticker price for any purchase plus the tax paid, which means the true rate will be about 30%. So they're saying 23, but they're like, when it's all said and done, it's going to be about 30% tax on all goods and services. And it says right here in this article, the fair tax rate would be on top of the state taxes. So there's your answer right there, Brother Doug. This would be on top of that. And it said this bill would repeal federal tax on income, payroll, and estates. It would also eliminate the Internal Revenue Service, but hold the applause. It would replace it with a new Sales and Tax Bureau that exercise the tax bureau. So, yeah, they would have to replace the IRS with something else, rename it, rebrand it, rebudget and all that kind of stuff. But I was trying to find the part where it talks about how they were even able to bring this to the floor. And basically what it was is a deal was struck with these caucus members. And here it is right here. The fair tax has been floating around since the 1990s. So why is it shot to the top of the House GOP agenda now? News reports say Kevin McCarthy promised Mr. Carter and the Freedom Caucus members a vote on the bill in return for their support in his quest for the speakership. So the only reason we're talking about this is he had to cut a deal to get their support to get the speakership. And this is why this vote is going to the floor. But everyone pretty much says the same thing. It's not going to go anywhere. It's kind of like an empty shot, but it's going to start these conversations nationwide. Like people like us are talking about it. It's not going to just be us talking about it. I can't wait to hear what Patrick Bet-David has to say about it. I bet you he talks about it later on this week. I'm curious to hear what he and Tom have to say about this plan and how it would affect America and like everyday Americans, how it would affect big business. I am definitely curious. So here's one more. We'll pull this up. Right. And this is The Balance. Right. And this is from thebalancemoney.com. Fair tax plan, pros, cons, and effects. So definitely want to get into this, which I thought was pretty cool. Catch up on the chats. We'll read this. We'll probably wrap this up. This is a bad idea. People end up paying more than before. I don't know, bro. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we've got to flush it out. We got to look at it. I would agree if the tax rate is 30%. Yeah. I can't back that. That would be too high. But if they can get it down to, 10, 12, 15%, and then when it's all said and done, maybe it hovers around 20. Once you add in the state stuff, I think it's worth trying. I think it's worth trying. But again, what do I know, man? I'm just an old man sitting in his attic talking to a computer. So let's get into this. The Fair Tax Plan is a sales tax proposal that will replace the current U.S. income tax structure. It would abolish all federal, personal, and corporate income taxes, as well as the alternative minimum tax, which is horrible. Horrible. They make so much money off of that. I got caught up in the alternative minimum tax a couple times when I was working as an air traffic controller. Horrible. It would end taxes on gifts, estates, capital gains, Social Security, Medicare, and self-employment. The plan will replace all these taxes with a federal retail sales tax of 23% to be administered by the state sales tax authorities. It was first introduced to Congress in 1999 and has been reintroduced several times over the years. So, see if I can make this a little bit bigger so y'all can see it. So here it is. Key takeaways. The Fair Tax Plan is a 23% sales tax that will replace the current U.S. income tax. It will reduce the headache of annual tax preparation because it's simple, but it would raise the tax burden for 90% of taxpayers. And that's what Brother Doug was saying. Looks like you were right, Brother Doug. It would raise the tax burden for 90% of taxpayers. Only the top 10% of incomes would actually see a tax cut. It was first introduced to Congress in 1999 and has been reintroduced several times over the years. About the Fair Tax Plan. Important. The Fair Tax Plan is discussed here, is an early version of the Fair Tax Act of 2023 that Republican members of the House of Representatives reintroduced in January. All right. So again, they're working on what information that they have. This is, so this definitely could change as it goes on. Let's see. A group known as Americans for Fair Taxation developed the Fair Tax Plan. It will require the repeal of the 16th Amendment, and it would disband and defund the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. So there's a lot of people going crazy about that. Every time someone hears that, man, I can just hear this in the background. No more IRS. Yay. You know what I mean? But let's see. A 23% sales tax is regressive because it impacts the poor the most. To make it more progressive, the Fair Tax Act includes a provision that all Americans would receive a monthly prebate that will be equal to 23% of the monthly cost of living at the federal poverty level. For example, the poverty level for a family of 4 is $27,750 in 2022, according to the Department of Health and Human Services. So the prebate would be $6,383. All right, so advantages to this plan: eliminates annual tax preparation, the headache and associated costs, eliminates the IRS, boost income and possibly consumer spending. So those are some of the advantages. Some of the disadvantages: unfair to seniors who have already paid income taxes, needs a new agency to enforce it. Sales tax rate would likely be prohibitively high to replace lost revenue. All right, so it's going to delve into that. So, like I said, man, we're gonna, check out. We're gonna catch up with the chats real quick. Like, hey, Brother Doug, looks like you were right. You called it right off the rip. You said people were going to pay more, and that's the first thing that jumped out at me. 90% of Americans will pay more under this plan. Look at that, Brother Doug coming with the knowledge. You know what I mean? Putting it through his think tank. Relax, brother. What's good, man? Good to see you. Welcome. Seems like a good idea, but we need to really drill down and do some research. Absolutely. I just like the idea, like we're thinking. Just finally, someone was like, let's look at some different options because, again, the current system is trash. Cody is king. 5%, take it or leave it. Less taxes, more economy. All right, see that. Let me see. Sister Candace said, Brother Cody, I agree. We can't stifle spending. Otherwise, the government will fall back into a habit of flooding the market with stimmy money, thus going back into debt. Yeah, not just debt, but, real inflation, and then, just basically destroying the currency. Relax, brother. Wouldn't the individual states raise taxes to cover lost federal revenue? Maybe, but they would definitely have to raise taxes to collect this revenue under the new system, because the states will be responsible to collect that. And I don't know if the federal government would fund that in some sort of, give them some sort of mandate or give them some money to do it. I don't know, but yeah, you would think so, bro. It says it's not perfect, but like it's something. It's I like anything that's gonna just kind of look at what we already got going on and try to make it better. But there's always the risk of making it worse. Advantages of the fair tax. The most obvious advantage of the plan is the elimination of the annual income tax headache and the cost of hiring tax preparers. Government spending would also be reduced by eliminating the IRS. And some advocates argue that increased consumer spending would lead to an increase in gross domestic product, jobs, productivity, and wages. Workers would not pay federal income tax on their wages, but would still have to pay state income taxes where applicable. So that's one of the things I was looking at, man. Like, all the money that used to come out of my pay for federal stuff was a ton. Imagine getting all your money, well, the majority of your money, except for the if you live in California, it's still gonna hurt. But if you live in Florida, you know what I mean, or Texas, or you live in a state that has no or lower state taxes, man, it would seem like a windfall. The kind of money that you're getting, it would seem like a windfall. Disadvantage of the fair tax. The fair tax is unfair to those who aren't earning an income, such as seniors. It would be especially unfair to the first generation of seniors because they paid income taxes all their lives and would have to start paying higher sales taxes in addition to taxes they've already contributed over the decades. That's a good point. You would think that they could put something in there that would I guess there's nothing they could put in there. I don't know if they would be able to get like a senior. You present your senior card and maybe you get less taxes. Like you pay, like 0.8% or something like that instead of paying whatever the tax is. But it's always going to be hiccups like that, when you make such a big transition. But you're absolutely right. It would definitely hurt them. Although the IRS would be eliminated, another agency would take its place. The agency would have to send out prebate checks, settle disputes, and collect taxes from the states. So you would still need an entity, but it'll be a lot smaller than what we have now with the IRS. It would also have to enforce the tax and go after cheaters. For example, business expenses that are used to create the final product wouldn't be taxed. Small business owners would therefore declare that a purchase was a business expense to avoid the sales tax. Compliance could become very expensive to monitor and enforce. It's kind of like where we are right now, as far as that goes. So here we go, y'all. Studies that support the fair tax. The Beacon Hill Institute calculated that the base for the fair tax would be 81% of the 2007 gross domestic product, or 11.2 trillion. A 23% sales tax would collect 2.6 trillion, which is $358 billion more than the income tax that it would replace. A 23% sales tax would collect a $2.6 trillion, which is $358 billion more than the income tax that it would replace. The study also used a model showing a GDP increase of 7.9% in the first year and up to 10.3% in the 25th year. Domestic investments are projected to be 74.5% higher in the first year and up to 65.2% higher in year 25. Consumption dropped significantly in the first 2 years, 0.6% and 0.8%, but is 6% higher by year 25. The spending is fueled by an average 1.7% increase in disposable income. All right, so I guess those are the studies that support the tax. Studies that don't support the fair tax William Gale, the Brookings Institute, has noted that it isn't accurate to refer to the fair tax as 23%. He indicates that the rate is actually 30%. Fair tax defines the sales tax as 23 cents out of every dollar spent, which means that a 23-cent tax is added to every 77 cents, not every dollar. All right, Gale also points out that the tax rate would likely need to be raised even higher because states would have to abolish or significantly alter their income tax systems without the IRS to determine tax on wages. The lost state revenue will require an additional 10% sales tax to replace it. So that's, so where, you guys were saying in the chat, there it is right there. And I think that was, who was saying that? Relax brother was saying that. So yeah, you're looking at another 5% that will be added to recoup the revenue from those who have figured out how to avoid the sales tax. So yeah, so you're looking at the lost state revenue will require an additional 10% sales tax, I guess, in each state. And another 5% would have to be added to recoup revenue from those who have figured out how to avoid sales taxes altogether. People are going to cheat. That's 15% right there. These three adjustments push the sales tax to 45%. Many Americans will protest having such a high tax on essentials such as food, healthcare. The effective rate could skyrocket to 67% on other items if food and healthcare weren't taxed. So there you go. There are the cons, some pretty big cons right there. Note, Gale's calculations show that the fair tax would cause taxes to raise for 90% of all households. Only those in the highest 10% of incomes would really get a tax cut. Those at the top 1% will receive an average tax cut of over $75,000. And I guess that's annually. So those in the bottom 2/3 of the distribution would pay less if the fair tax plan were adjusted so households would be classified by consumption level, while those in the top third would pay more, but those at the very top will still pay much less, again, receiving a tax cut of about $75,000. All right. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a hard pill to swallow. That's going to be one. That's going to be one tough plan to get past the American people. How the fair tax would affect the U.S. economy. It's difficult to determine how the fair tax would affect the economy without being able to examine the calculations and assumptions of each study closely. Implementation would have to be slow and consistently evaluated if the Fair Tax Act is ever passed. Perhaps the best approach would be a gradual shift from the income tax to the fair tax, or perhaps a less populous state could be used as a test market to iron out the problems. The scale of change alone will probably make the plan unworkable unless a great deal more research is done. So there you have it. And again, it gets into frequently asked questions. What is the fair tax plan? The fair tax plan is a proposal developed by a group called the American for Fair Taxation to eliminate the IRS and replace the federal income tax with federal sales tax 23%. We went over all that. And the critics say it will be a regressive tax and will fall heavily on people who earn lower incomes. And then what is the Fair Tax Act of 2023, which kind of recaps everything we said. And the Fair Tax Act of 2023 is the bill enacted to Fair Tax Plan, which is a proposal to replace the federal income tax with a federal sales tax. It was introduced by Georgia Representative Earl Buddy Carter in January. So that's it. That's the article right there. So it ain't cut and dry, is it? It is not cut and dry. That is that's it, y'all. That's the fair tax stuff. That's the fair tax stuff. And Brother Doug, he doubles down like this is bad. It's not going anywhere. It's not as if they don't have the votes. And no one seems to have a plan. So, I mean, it's not going anywhere. I just like the idea that someone's out there trying to think of a better way. This may not necessarily be it, but I like the idea of a federal sales tax in lieu of the current system that we have. I would love to see the current system get scrapped, but how do we do that? And I think it was Relax Brother has a real good point when he says it seems like a good idea, but we really need to, drill down and do some research. Yeah, we need to really figure out a workable model. But I'm for changing what we have. I am. I'm open to any ideas, and we entertain all ideas. You know what I mean? There's just to get into it and see if it could be done. But in all those articles we went over, no one talks about the dark money. No one talks about capturing that money, that illegal money. You know what I mean? That unreported money. That's a lot of bread, bro. I think. You know what I mean? But it may only be a drop in the bucket. You know what I mean? Sister Candace, I'd rather stick with the devil I know than the one you are describing. You're right. I can't argue that, sis. You know what I mean? Because it's like, man, you talk about opening Pandora's box, and once you switch over, it ain't no stopping it. You know what I mean? That's a real big ship to start turning. Once it starts turning, it ain't turning back easily. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I really don't. But, it made news, and it gave us something to talk about. It gave us an hour of conversation, right? Because it ain't there yet. It ain't there yet. Could something happen? Yes. Are there ways to, to come up with a better system? Yes. But this the way it is now, the way we just read it, the way it's just been broken down in these two articles, this isn't the way. This isn't the way. But I would love to see it. I would love to see a federal sales tax in lieu of what we're doing now. I see, Brother Doug, illegal money will be caught through CBDCs. Maybe. I mean, it goes back to what Sister Candy was saying. It's best to stick with the devil in this case, especially when we're talking about income and all that. It could definitely change the economy. They were saying that it could boost the gross domestic product, but all this is theory. No one really knows what would happen. Especially, sis, when you was talking about the aviation industry and all that, no one really knows what would happen, but that's what's out there, y'all. That's what's out there. I just wanted to talk about it real quick. You know what I mean? I thought it'd be a good midday conversation. You know what I mean? So we spent an hour on it. Yeah, we spent an hour on it. We'll see. We'll check out the comments. Those of you who are watching Team Replay, please drop in the comments what you guys think. Like, should we be trying to do something different when it comes to our tax code? Should we get rid of the IRS? Should we move to a federal sales tax system? I mean, if we could figure out a way to do it that really wouldn't, destroy the country in the process, let me know. Like, put that in your comments below. I'm curious. Brother Dino Dinosaur, the IRS system processing your taxes is almost 60 years old. Yeah, it's definitely an old system. It is an old system. I mean, could the answer simply be upgrading the current system, upgrading the IRS, making it more, user friendly? Just, like I said, they're having so much trouble just getting the paper. Like, why are we using paper anyway? Shouldn't it all be automated? Should the IRS send you, what they anticipate your tax being, so at the beginning of the year that I'm probably going to owe this much money? I mean, I'm sure there are different ways. Again, I would entertain all kind of options. So we're going to continue this conversation at some point. Like, I'm going to see if I can get a hold of some people in those study groups, those think groups, those different think tanks, and maybe come up with some, look at some different options that are on the table, see what they're talking about, maybe find out what is the best way. Trust and believe that this is going to come up on the campaign trail. Guarantee it's going to come up on the campaign trail for this election, for this national election coming up. You're going to hear about this the closer and closer we get to 2024, November. Watch. You're going to see it. The GOP opposes the 87,000 IRS workers and system upgrade. Yeah, man, because they're in their echo chamber. They want to do away with the entire system. So that can't happen either. So, I mean, we got to do something. So I appreciate y'all coming through and rocking out with me. I mean, I thought this was a pretty good conversation. I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation. I know I did. 6:00 tonight, we're going to be talking about child support payments and misappropriation of child support payments. We're going to be talking about that tonight. Should that be a thing? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a spicy talk. We're going to definitely have some people coming up because whenever I talk about child support, bro, it smashes a button in some corners of YouTube and they come running over. Yeah, so we're going to have that talk tonight, and hope to see y'all there. I hope y'all have a good day. I hope the rest of your day goes well. Sister Candace, besides the dark money, what are your major gripes with the current system? Forgive me if this was already spelled out. I mean, it's slow, it's arduous, and I don't understand all of the rules, all of the loopholes. There's so many different things out there, and then when you do seize on a loophole, when you like, okay, the paperwork says I can do this, the IRS comes back and says no, and then they take money and then they penalize you. I think is I don't like the current system. They use a lot of fear tactics to get you to not get your money back. And people get all excited like, oh, I got this money from the government. That was your money to begin with. They take money from you and you have to claw it back. And, you can fight for years trying to get your money back. And they finally say, okay, yeah, you're right. Here's your money back. Like, well, what about the interest? Because the government charges you interest on your, when you owe them money. But they'll hold your money indefinitely, and you don't even get any interest on that. I think the system we have now is no. It hurts Americans. But for those who can afford to buy, pay for the services, you get what you pay for. You get someone who's really good. You're paying them top dollar, and they're gonna maximize your return. None of it makes sense, and I think that's done on purpose. Most of the people who work for the IRS don't understand the tax codes. It's just too convoluted. So that's my biggest problem with it. I would like something that's just straightforward. Everyone can understand. You made this much, you pay this much in taxes. Okay, you have a business, you qualify for these breaks or whatever. Like this is a proper write-off. This is not. I can't tell you how many yachts I've been on. And it's like, yeah, this is my business. I bought this yacht with the business. I get to write, 80% of the cost of this yacht off. I'm writing off the gas and the crew and all that right now. Same thing with private jets. My God, dog, man, you got yourself a $70 million jet and you get to write off the crew. You get to write off some of the fuel. You get to write off all this stuff because you brought me on board to have a 15-minute conversation. And now you get to write off this flight from LA to Chicago. Okay. Again, I don't hate the player, I hate the games, but it's just way too many, you know what I mean? Big old loopholes and whatnot. It is what it is. Brother Cody was like, facts. You know what I'm saying? Brother Dinosaur, thanks, DL. If you move address, the IRS cannot contact you. They'll find you, bro, eventually. Trust me. Especially if you're working. They'll find, if they don't find you, they'll find where you keep your money. they'll find that. You know what I mean? Oh, we're going to freeze some of this money. I bet you somebody screams out, hey, what you doing? Yeah, we've been trying to get a hold of you. So it is what it is, bro. But yeah, thanks y'all for rocking out with me. This, it's a pretty good conversation. We're going to have this conversation again. I'm going to see if I can find some experts to come on here and really break this down further for us. Maybe I could find an accountant, someone who's really good at taxes, to come in and try to explain how convoluted everything is and why. It's probably done on purpose. So thank y'all so much, man, for rocking out with me. I appreciate it. Sister Candace, during the Trump administration, I believe the standard deduction was increased to make it more attractive than itemizing. Was that a benefit or no? Like I got a tax person who does my stuff, and my biggest problem now is I can't get this W-2. I can't get this piece of paper from these government entities, man. Those people don't care. You know what I mean? I ain't gonna lie to you. That ain't the worst of the worst when it comes to federal employees. It's just a roll of the dice. Sometimes you get a good one. Most times you don't. The states are even worse. Like California is god awful. So it's just really difficult for no reason, I believe, especially these days. It should not be that difficult. Maybe they could just replace everyone with AI. Maybe that'll make the IRS more seamless. You know what I mean? Maybe it'll make it more effective. But yeah, sis, I don't know. I got to ask my tax person if it was a benefit. There are businesses and things that I'm into that there's all kind of itemized stuff that you can do. It's legal. It's all above board. But I wouldn't have known any of it if I wasn't paying for her services. Let's put it that way. So, and Sister Candace, like an accountant would be great, be a W show. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find one. We'll see. Like, we're gonna revisit this, y'all. This ain't going. I'm not just walking away from it. We're gonna revisit this. Give me a couple months. You know what I mean? We'll get somebody in here and we'll talk about it. I probably, you know what I mean, because it's tax season or whatever. But maybe I can find like a retired accountant or something like that. I got a friend of mine I went to high school with, and she's an accountant. I'm pretty sure she can help me find someone, or she might be able to do it herself. So don't worry, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna get somebody in here. I'm about to go, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. I really do. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Give it a like if you didn't enjoy it. Appreciate all the comments. I appreciate everybody rocking out with me in the chat. And I'm gonna see y'all tonight, 6 p.m. right here, y'all. We definitely gonna talk about what's going on with the family court system a little bit, and should people be held to account. I just want to make sure the time is, I think I put it for 6. Yeah, I think I did it for 6. And here I am trying to find it, and I can't. Oh, here it is. Yep, 6 p.m. 6 p.m. tonight, right here. Come back, y'all. We gonna talk about this misappropriation of child support. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a feisty one, man. So I'm gonna see y'all later, brother Cody. I see you, bro. Peace. Relax, brother. My friend Val said, good show, but you need more information. I do. You know what I mean? And this is what we do on this platform. I know who that is. Yeah, we definitely need more information, and ask your people if they can help me find that information. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Good looking out. I'm gonna call you in a hot second. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for rocking out with me. I'm DL Saint. This is the Downrange Podcast, where we talk all things politics, man. So be looking out for the thumbnails. We got some more shows coming. I got some shows up on the board, man. How to deal with hateful people. I'm working on that. We're gonna get that show up and running. I got my friend Marty, who's a director out there in Hollywood, who's been doing some big things. I'm trying to get her on the show. And don't forget about Family Fridays coming up. So yeah, man, I'm gonna see y'all tonight, 6 p.m. Thanks for rocking out with me. I really appreciate y'all. I truly do. And I'm gonna talk to y'all later. Peace.
Well, that's great.
Peace.
Darn, that's the end.
Man, I hit the wrong button.